Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and today I'm going to be talking about the Masters of the Universe Origins Ninjor figure and compare him to the original 1987 Ninjor. The original Masters of the Universe figures came out in 1982. I picked up a few figures right when they came out, but it was the popular cartoon created by Filmation that really helped to make the toy line a huge success. There were only 2 seasons of the cartoon, so by 1987, when Ninjor was released, the cartoon had been out of production for a while, but it was still in syndication. The Sorceress and King Randor were 2 figures in the 1987 wave who had been featured in the cartoon but didn't have figures before. Other figures like Blade and Gwildor had just appeared in the Masters of the Universe movie, which had been a commercial flop, but aside from those 4 figures, kids weren't familiar with most of the figures in the wave, and the Masters of the Universe line in general had pretty much run its course. As a result, the last full wave of figures didn't sell as well as the first few waves, and not as many figures from the 1987 wave are really out there. Each figure came with a mini-comic, but Ninjor only appeared in 1 issue, The Search for Keldor, so there wasn't even very much merchandise with his image. A lot of kids who played with Masters of the Universe figures back in the 80s never even knew Ninjor existed. Fast forward to 2020, Mattel decided to release a new retail line of Masters of the Universe figures. It seems like the line has been selling pretty well because new waves continue to be released. Ninjor was included in the 4th wave of figures. Although the Origins figures look very similar to the vintage figures because they're about the same height and roughly the same musculature, upon closer look, they're actually quite different. The biggest difference in the vintage figures and the new Origins figures in general is the Origins figures have a lot more points of articulation. The vintage figures only had 6. They could rotate at the neck, shoulders, and waist, and then they had a wider range of motion where the top of the legs connected to the pelvis with a rubber band. The new Origins figures have a ball joint at the neck, which allows for a wider range of motion than the simple rotation that the original figures' heads had. At the shoulders, the new figures have 2 joints instead of just 1, so that the arms can rotate and move away from the body. There are additional joints at the elbow and the wrist that the vintage figures lacked. Although both the vintage figures and the Origin figures could rotate at the waist, the original figures had a spring inside the body which gave the figure a power punch action, but the new figures don't have this feature. The Origins figures move similarly at the top of the leg where it connects to the pelvis, but instead of a rubber band connecting the legs, the new figures have a ball joint there. Finally, the new figures have joints at the knees, the top of the boot, and the ankle, which the vintage figures didn't have. When talking about Ninjor specifically, the vintage figure had a second spring device in the shoulder of his right arm, which gave him a chopping action. His Origins figure doesn't have this feature. While the vintage figure had a cloth mask which could be removed and show the head underneath, the new Origins figures have a solid head with the mask molded on. The vintage figures also had a cloth sleeveless shirt with a dragon image printed on the front. But the new figures have a plastic chest piece instead. The dragon logo is pretty much the same logo as the original, but with a thicker paint job. For the most part, both versions of Ninjor came with the same accessories, a sword, a bow, and nunchucks. However, there are several small differences. The vintage sword was the same one that came with Jitsu, but Ninjor's sword was silver instead of orange. For some reason, the handguard on the vintage sword was on the wrong side of the handle. The Origins figure sword doesn't have the handguard at all. The 2 versions of the bow look very similar, but the new Ninjor bow has a clip added to the side so that the bow can be slid into a slot in the back of the chest armor. The sword can also fit in that same slot. The vintage nunchucks were attached with a metal chain, but the Origins Ninjor comes with nunchucks that are attached with a plastic chain. There's also a slot for the nunchucks on the back of the chest armor. As I mentioned earlier, each of the vintage figures came with a mini-comic. Similarly, each of the single-carded Origins figures comes with a mini-comic. But it seems like just 1 comic comes with each wave. So if you buy 2 figures from the same wave, they each have the same comic. The mini-comic for Wave 4 features Ninjor heavily. In fact, he's front and center on the cover of the comic and pictured at least once on every single page. The basic story of the comic is that Hordak showed up to destroy Eternia, so Ninjor claims that he needs the staff of Avion so that he can defeat Hordak. Although he and Stratos do work together to defeat Hordak, Ninjor then betrays Stratos and tries to take the staff to Skeletor. Fortunately, He-Man steps in and saves the day. Another interesting piece that comes with the new Origins Ninjor figure is a piece of paper that shows which figure's parts can be easily removed to swap out with other figures from the Origins line. As you can see here, the head, the arms, the hands, the boots, and the pelvis are all removable and can be swapped out with other figures. Even the packaging for the Origins figures was designed to look very similar to the original vintage packaging. On the back of the package, there's a new picture of Ninjor at the top, as well as an image of his weapons on the side and the other figures that are available in this wave. I like the new Origins figures, and I've picked up several of them at this point. I'm not sure I'll get them all. I've never seen Trapjaw in the store, so I'm pretty sure I missed out on that one. But I have enjoyed adding some cool new Masters of the Universe figures to my collection. What do you think of the Masters of the Universe Origins figures in general, and the new Ninjor figure specifically? Is this new Ninja a must-have for your collection, or one that you'll be skipping? Tell me in the comments below. Also, please give this video a like, share it on social media, and if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notifications bell so I can let you know when new videos are released. And one last thing, if you collect toys, you should know about ToyLanta, one of the biggest toy shows in the southeastern United States, held annually just north of Atlanta, Georgia. Visit ToyLanta.com for more information. As always, thanks for watching.